There are some stories in reality TV that stick with you long after the credits roll, stories that go deeper than just family drama and messy relationships. One of those stories is Gabriel Brown's journey on Sister Wives. Now, if you've been following the Brown family, you know that Gabriel's life hasn't exactly been a fairy tale. From the very start, his relationship with his father, Cody Brown, has been strained. There's an undeniable tension, one that's not only heartbreaking but also impossible to ignore. Cody's constant division of attention between his multiple wives and kids left Gabriel in the shadows for much of his life, feeling abandoned and emotionally neglected. But as if that wasn't enough, Gabriel's journey has been put under a public microscope in ways that most of us can't even imagine. Take, for instance, that viral Mother's Day video he posted, meant to be a joke. It set off a firestorm of speculation about his relationship with his father and his father's wives. It was a moment of humor, but it quickly became a moment of pain, confusion, and public judgment. People didn't just laugh at the joke. They dug into his personal life, analyzing every word and questioning the reality behind the image. And suddenly, Gabriel wasn't just another kid in a polygamous family. He was the center of a media frenzy. Hi, I'm Olivia, and welcome to TLC's Sister Wives Secrets. Today, we're going to dive into Gabriel's emotional journey, his struggles with his father, Cody, his viral video that had the internet buzzing, and how he's trying to heal and move forward through it all. Trust me, this is a story you won't want to miss. So hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below to share your thoughts on Gabriel's heartbreaking but inspiring path. Are you ready to get into it? Let's go. Cody Brown, the patriarch of the Brown family, has always been at the center of the drama in Sister Wives. But while the cameras often focus on his relationships with his wives, there's one aspect of his life that rarely gets the attention it deserves: the relationship he has, or rather doesn't have, with his children. And no one has felt that neglect more than Gabriel Brown. Growing up in a polygamous family like the Browns means divided attention, yes, but Gabriel's experience went beyond just the typical sibling rivalry. Cody's affection and attention seemed to be mostly reserved for his wives, leaving his kids, especially Gabriel, to fend for themselves emotionally. From the very beginning, it was clear that Cody wasn't the type of father who showed up for his children in the way that many of us would expect. The cracks in their relationship became more apparent as Gabriel got older, and the emotional neglect he experienced was hard to ignore. If you've watched Sister Wives, you've seen moments where Gabriel voiced his frustration with his father. For example, in one of the episodes where the family was preparing for a big move, Gabriel opened up about feeling like an afterthought in Cody's life. He even directly stated that his father didn't make any effort to spend time with him or form a strong connection. There's this one scene that sticks with me. While Cody was busy juggling multiple wives and trying to figure out logistics for their homes, Gabriel sat in the background, visibly upset. It wasn't just that Cody was busy. It was the feeling that Gabriel didn't matter enough to be prioritized. He didn't feel like he was worthy of the affection and attention that should have been a given from his father. Cody's attention was spread so thin, and it became glaringly obvious that he didn't have enough emotional bandwidth for all his children, let alone his wives. This constant emotional neglect, coupled with the fact that Cody seemed to favor certain kids, especially when it came to special one-on-one moments, left Gabriel feeling overlooked and undervalued. It's painful to watch as he tried time and time again to reach out to his father, only to be met with distance. He became more and more distant, not just from Cody, but from the entire family dynamic. You could see it in the way he carried himself, in the way he avoided family events or remained quiet during discussions about big family moments. It was clear. Gabriel was emotionally checked out. The tension within the family, especially around Cody's many marriages, had a profound impact on Gabriel. For someone his age, trying to navigate the complexities of being part of a family that constantly shifted and morphed, it had to feel like emotional whiplash. Cody was always in a tug of war between his wives, balancing time, emotions, and attention. And in the middle of all of this, Gabriel, like many of his siblings, was left feeling like a secondary concern. While Cody would try to put on a good face for the cameras, the cracks were undeniable. And those cracks created a distance that was almost impossible to bridge. But the toll on Gabriel wasn't just emotional, it was mental. You have to remember that Gabriel, at the time, was navigating the normal trials of adolescence in addition to this complicated family dynamic. But instead of having a father figure who was there to listen, guide, and support, he had a dad who was often absent, both physically and emotionally. That emotional disconnect became a pattern. Even though Cody would frequently claim that he loved all his children, the actions didn't match the words. Love is more than just saying the right things. It's about showing up, being present, and making your kids feel like they matter. And for Gabriel, this was something that Cody just couldn't deliver in a meaningful way. And the emotional weight of it didn't just disappear. The constant feeling of neglect took its toll on Gabriel's mental health. How could it not? In one particularly raw moment on the show, Gabriel discussed how the lack of attention from Cody left him feeling inadequate, wondering if he was doing something wrong to not warrant his father's love or involvement. It was heartbreaking to hear him say, "I don't feel like he cares." The pain in his voice spoke volumes. This wasn't just about an emotionally distant father. This was about a kid trying to make sense of why his own dad couldn't be there for him the way he needed. It was a gut-wrenching truth, one that likely contributed to his growing sense of isolation and confusion. When you compare Gabriel's experience with that of his siblings, the disparity becomes even more evident. Some of Cody's other kids, particularly those from his relationships with Robin, seem to have more consistent emotional support from their father. And though that caused its own set of issues, it only highlighted how Gabriel's needs went unmet. That inconsistency in Cody's parenting, not just in the amount of time, but in the quality of the attention he gave to each child, created a sense of emotional imbalance. Gabriel wasn't the only one feeling this way, but his feelings were certainly more pronounced. He didn't fit into Cody's carefully crafted narrative of the perfect polygamous family, and that left him in an emotional limbo. The mental toll was clear as well. Gabriel began to close off more, his interactions with the family becoming less frequent and more surface level. He wasn't the only one who distanced himself, but it seemed that his emotional isolation was deeper. Perhaps it was because deep down he didn't feel like he belonged in this family the way his siblings did. Cody's emotional neglect had laid the groundwork for Gabriel's quiet retreat into himself. When you really sit back and think about it, Gabriel's struggles aren't just a reflection of a young man caught in a complicated family system. They're also a sign of the larger emotional divide in the Brown family. It's not just about polygamy or the struggles of living under public scrutiny. It's about how a lack of real, genuine connection between a father and his child can have far reaching consequences. And for Gabriel, those consequences were felt every single day. In a world where social media can turn any moment into a spectacle, Gabriel Brown's viral Mother's Day video became the perfect storm. The video itself, at first glance, seemed like a lighthearted, humorous take on the holiday. Nothing out of the ordinary. But of course, this was Sister Wives, and nothing ever stays simple for long. Gabriel's video was intended to be playful. He posted it with a cheeky, almost sarcastic tone, making a comment that not all mothers are the same. On the surface, it seemed like a funny, somewhat self-deprecating jab, as Gabriel likely meant to poke fun at the complexities of his family's relationships. But that simple line, not all mothers, set the internet ablaze. The ambiguity of his statement was enough to send fans and viewers into a frenzy, with many speculating which of Cody's wives he was referring to. The most likely candidate? Robin, Cody's current wife, who has always been at the center of much of the family drama. The way Gabriel phrased it left a lot of room for interpretation, and people, being the internet detectives they are, began picking apart every word. Was it a subtle dig at Robin? Was there unresolved tension between them? Did this comment mean Gabriel didn't view her as a mother figure in his life? The questions started piling up, and before long, the video became the subject of widespread online scrutiny. Gabriel, like many in the Brown family, became a target of intense speculation. The comment that was meant to be playful had been twisted into something far more serious. Now imagine what it must have felt like for Gabriel. Here he was, trying to post something lighthearted, and suddenly his personal relationships were under a microscope. For someone who had already been struggling with feeling emotionally disconnected from his family, This level of public exposure must have been overwhelming. It's one thing to have tensions in private, but to have the entire world dissect your family dynamics? That has to sting. The public, in its quest for drama and intrigue, turned his attempt at humor into a whole new level of family conflict. Gabriel probably never expected the video to spiral into this kind of speculation, especially about something so deeply personal. As the video made the rounds, Gabriel was quick to clarify. He tried to backpedal, saying his comments were meant as a joke, an offhand remark that didn't have any deeper meaning. But the damage was already done. The fans weren't letting it go. The speculation about which mother figure Gabriel was referencing didn't stop. And for Gabriel, it likely felt like his life was being parsed and misinterpreted by people who didn't know the full story. It wasn't just about his relationship with his father or his siblings, it was now about his relationship with his mothers, and more specifically, the public's perception of that relationship. Humor, as we've seen throughout Sister Wives, is often a defense mechanism. For Gabriel, the use of humor in this situation might have been a way to mask deeper, unresolved emotional struggles. The pain from years of feeling neglected by his father, the complicated family dynamics, and the weight of being part of a highly scrutinized polygamous family, these things were likely simmering beneath the surface of his seemingly flippant video. Gabriel had spent so much of his life trying to make sense of his family's mess, and in that moment, he may have been trying to deflect attention away from his hurt by making a joke. But humor, as we know, can only shield you for so long before it cracks. And when it did, all those deeper issues, his feelings of abandonment, the frustration with his father, and the emotional neglect, came to the surface. The video also brought the Brown family's reactions into the spotlight. How did Cody and his wives handle it? Well, Cody's response was a bit predictable. He was defensive. You could tell he didn't quite understand why Gabriel would post something like that, especially given the context of their strained relationship. Cody, never one to shy away from confrontation, likely felt a mix of confusion and frustration over the way his family's private dynamics were being aired in such a public way. For him, it probably felt like another unwanted complication in an already turbulent family situation. But it wasn't just Cody's reaction that spoke volumes. The wives, particularly Robin, were likely hurt by the ambiguity of Gabriel's comments. It's no secret that Robin has always been a central figure in the Brown family's drama, and she's often been accused of being the favorite wife, which complicates things even further. So when Gabriel's video sparked speculation about her role in his life, it added another layer of tension to an already complex family dynamic. Robin, who has her own complicated history with Cody and his other wives, likely felt a mixture of confusion and disappointment as she watched the fallout unfold. For her, the video was not just a humorous comment, it was an indictment of the family dynamic she was a part of, and that's not easy to digest. Ultimately, the whole situation revealed just how delicate and fraught the relationships within the Brown family are. Gabriel's video may have been meant as a joke, but it exposed some uncomfortable truths about his relationship with Cody, the other wives, and his own emotional struggles. The public's reaction, the family's response, it all added more fuel to the fire of Gabriel's already complicated emotional journey. It was no longer just a viral video. It was a reflection of everything Gabriel had been through, everything he was trying to escape, and everything he still needed to confront. And the world was watching every step of the way. The loss of a loved one can be a devastating blow, one that leaves a hole in your heart and soul that's hard to fill. For Gabriel Brown, that loss came in the form of his brother, Garrison, who tragically took his own life. This heart-wrenching event was a turning point in Gabriel's life, amplifying the emotional wounds he'd been carrying for years. Grief, especially the kind that comes from losing a sibling, is a unique and complex emotion. And for Gabriel, it was a crushing weight that only intensified his need for emotional support and connection. Garrison's suicide was not only the loss of a family member, but the loss of someone who shared his struggles, someone who understood what it was like to be in the Brown family and all the complexities that came with it.